Well, we're right at the top of the hour. I think it's a go time. So welcome everybody to another of Trimerit's webinar series. We have a very fun one today that I've been looking forward to for a while. I have Nick Boscia with me. Nick will introduce himself here in a minute, but we're going to be talking about credit cards, cash flow, and control, unlocking the hidden power within your wallet. There is a lot of things that your credit cards hold, benefits that your credit card hold that you don't even know about, that I didn't even know about. Nick has helped me a lot with my own credit card points journey. In fact, over the last year, probably not even the year, the last 6 months, Nick's has been educating me. I see people are still popping in here, so I'll just keep talking a little bit. But over the last 6 months, Nick's been educating me on my credit card usage, my points usage, my points accumulation, the benefits that the cards have, and then the best way to use them. And I'm just touching the tip of the iceberg there with that. So we're going to go into that today. And there's obviously personal aspects to this, but there probably can business aspects to this too. So it's just a fun webinar and things to go over. Nick's going to be controlling the slides. So Nick, if you can go to the next one, please. All right, so quick introduction. I'm Randy Crabtree, partner at Trimerit. Do a lot of fun things in this profession that I love, and one of them is hosting these webinars. Get to do this sometimes on my own, sometimes with cool people like Nick and others. I do host the podcast, The Unique CPA, and the Bridging the Gap Conference, which we just concluded about a month ago in Denver. It was a great success. If you have seen social media at all, you've probably seen a lot of posts about Bridging the Gap. It was an awesome time this year. And so you can go to btgconference.com and make sure you get your name on the you're interested for next year, because it appears there was a lot of FOMO out there from this year's conference. So go take a look at btgconference.com. Nick, next slide. And I think this is you introducing you.
Yep. Hello, everybody. My name is Nick Boscia. I've been also very excited to do this webinar because I would like to call myself a credit card expert, but a little bit about me. I inherited my family accounting firm, which was founded in 1975. I'm now the managing partner of Boscia & Boscia with my brother. I'm also on ADP's Accountant Advisory Board, and I'm on Intuit's Tax Council. And the only reason I bring that up, why it's relevant for this specific webinar, is every time I go to these events, I'm around like really smart people all across the industry, and everyone always gets really excited when I start talking about credit cards. I'll talk about my upcoming trip and how I got first class on points and get these crazy deals. So we started to realize that this is definitely a high interest of a lot of people. So I'm sure this will be reshared many times going forward, but I'm excited. I'm also known as the Balanced CPA, and my mission is to help accounting firm owners and business owners just improve their businesses and have better work-life balance, which kind of goes right into my passion, which is traveling. I love traveling. My goal is to travel to 100 countries. I'm at 27 so far, and credit cards has been a big help to get me to that point and travel the world on a very affordable budget. I share my QR code because sometimes people want to connect with me, and I could share follow-ups because there's only so much I could go through in an hour with all the credit card information I have. But I wanted to throw out there that I have 13 personal cards and 7 business cards. I counted before this event just so I could share that, because most people I talk to either have 1 or 0 cards. Not saying you should have 20 cards like me, but I'm going to explain all about it as we get into the presentation.
Yep, and just to build off of that, so I was on the Intuit Tax Council with Nick for the past year. My 3-year term just ended in June, but we did some late night discussions at the bar about credit card usage, and that's where I learned a lot from him already, and so that's why we decided, you know what, we need to do this, because there's so much opportunity there, things I didn't even know. I just basically got $400 of free equipment from Dell.com because of one card I have. I have $25 a month I'm getting in free discounts on meals for another card I have. I just got a $200 credit from another card for staying at a Hilton. So these things I didn't even know about that are out there that you just need to hear this. And that right there already adding up to over $1,000 probably. And I'm just hitting the tip of the iceberg there with what I've been able to learn from Nick so far. So before we get into this, this is an education on financial information. So we are going to be able to give CPE for this. To qualify for the CPE, you have to stay logged in for at least 50 minutes, 50. And you have to answer, I think, do we have 3 or 4 polling questions, Nick? 4. So answer at least 3 of the 4 polling questions. If you meet those requirements, your certificate will be sent out to the email address that you registered with. Remember that. If you didn't use your business email, make sure you look elsewhere, because sometimes we get that question. Also check your spam or junk email folder, but that should be out within a few days, probably before Friday this week. Also, you'll get a copy of the slides in that email as well. And if there's any questions, you can reach out to TriMerit afterwards. But this should be all self-explanatory. You should receive everything. Next slide, please, Nick. And then, so this is, like, as I said at the beginning, put on by TriMerit. TriMerit is a tax credit and incentive companies. We are going to be talking about credit today, just a different version of credit, credit cards, but still, it sticks with the theme of credit for TriMerit. Just a quick thing. There's so much out there right now, tax-wise, when you're talking about tax credits and incentives, OB3, HR1, OBBBA, whatever you want to call this new tax bill. There is so much tax saving opportunity through different credits and incentives. The enhancement to R&D, some changes to renewable energy, but still significant benefits there. Some new bonus depreciation opportunities, especially with manufacturers who build plants. Those plants could be bonus eligible. There's a lot of things out there. So if you have any questions on any of that information, we're available, and you'll see some contact information at the end of this. With that, I think it's time for me to open up the first polling question. Is that the next slide? Yeah, we're going to start right with the polling question just to set the stage of where everybody's at in their credit card and knowledge journey. So if we can bring that poll up, Mark, that would be great. And the question is, how do you currently use your business credit cards? 1, I don't think that poll's up. At least I'm not seeing it. You avoid them. 1 card, pay monthly. Multiple cards, no real strategy. Multiple cards, you're an optimizer. Nick, you didn't see that poll pop up, did you?
I don't, but I see people responding.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You know what? I think because you're in charge this time, I'm not seeing it. You are. So, okay. Just making sure those are going. With that being said, if you want to take over and start jumping in, and then that poll question will stay up so people can answer it while you get into your presentation. Thanks for doing this, Nick.
All right. Yeah, no problem. All right. Well, thanks for answering the questions here. Just to get an idea of how people are using cards, like I'll definitely say I'm D. I have multiple cards, as you already know, and I'm definitely an optimizer, and I'm going to teach you exactly how you could do it too. And it's not scary. When I first learned it, I took little baby steps, and now I'm way ahead, but I'm going to show you exactly how I did it all. So I always like to start with just debunking some myths, because a lot of people won't even get started with credit cards because they're afraid of them, or their parents told them not to have them, or whatever it might be. But one of the myths I like to debunk is credit cards. People think of it as just debt and risk, and which is not really true. Really, you could leverage credit cards to extend your payment terms, which is actually a good business tool to maybe make a payment. It gives you an extra 30 days on making that payment. So it gives you an extension. But just something to keep in mind is you definitely, before you even get into the credit card game with points and perks and things like that, you never have a credit card unless if you could pay off the full balance in full, because it's true in the sense of risk that credit cards have one of the highest interest rates of all loans that you could get. So if you're only making those minimum payments, it won't hurt your credit score, but credit cards love those customers. If you're making the minimum payment, they're charging you a ton of interest. It's not affecting your credit score negatively, but you're paying these credit card companies to fund people like me and give me the points that someone else who's not using them properly is paying for. So always make sure if you're going to go down the credit card game and try to earn points, make sure you're paying off your balance in full. Don't charge things that are more than what you could afford. So otherwise it is debt and it is risk. So just being clear on those. Myth 2 is debit cards are safer. So it's a personal pet peeve when I go out with people. If I'm at Bridging the Gap conference and I see someone put down their debit card, it actually kills me inside a little bit. I understand the concept why people do it, because like it's only the money you have in your account. It's linked right to your bank account rather than a credit card, which is technically a loan. But the debit cards are not safer. So debit card, if you ever had fraud on your debit card, it's a big nightmare trying to get that fraud disputed. Or if you did the exact same transaction on your credit card, it's going to be very easy to dispute that charge. You call up Chase, you call up Amex, say, hey, I was traveling and this $300 charge, that wasn't me. Instantly, they reverse it. They do the dispute. They handle everything for you. So really, credit cards are safer than debit cards. So I would always recommend using a credit card just for that purpose. Liability, and there's a lot of protection when you're using a credit card. Myth number 3, one card is enough. I'm sure anyone out there who's listening who only has one card is probably like, cannot believe that I said I have 20 cards, which is a lot and it's insane, but I enjoy this. To me, it's like a little hobby that I like to do. And I love traveling, so kind of fishtails right into each other. But having one credit card, not saying that it's bad, but one credit card is not enough. Each card has their own benefits. So Randy mentioned a few of the benefits that he had on, we've had these conversations. He mentioned a few benefits he had across, I think, 3 different cards just from what he was telling me. And I know he has a bunch of cards just like myself. So if you only have one card, that's fine, but you're only going to get the benefits and the perks of that one card. And later in the presentations, I'm going to explain why it's good to have different cards and the different perks of the cards, and not one card fits all. So I'm going to kind of give you a cheat sheet of all the cards that I have personally and just the pros and the cons of different cards. All that is just debunking the myth, so people aren't like, hey, I don't want to listen to this webinar because I don't want to get a credit card. It's too risky. It's too scary. None of that's true. There's tons of benefits. Randy's showing a bunch of his cards that he has on him. I'll be sharing a picture of all
that's
my.
not even half of them probably.
Yeah,
So
that's
that's
just
the versions I put in my wallet.
Which is great. Like I see the United card, I see all the, and we're going to go, and later in the presentation, I'm going to go through all the specifics of these cards, and there's going to be something for everyone, I promise. But just having a strategy and having discipline is really important, because never do any of this stuff if you're paying interest and not paying on time and messing up your credit score. None of this is possible. So that's like the most important thing to always start with when I go down a credit card explanation. So comparing the different card benefits, there's the types of rewards that are really important to understand. So there's one of the main ones that most people I think start with is cashback cards. Like for example, when I was in college and I turned 18, I could get my first credit card. The first card I got was a cashback card, because that's typically the easiest, usually a no annual fee. Sometimes those are student cards. They help you build your credit over time. And obviously the longer you have credit, the longer your history, the more credit you're going to build and higher credit score. But cashback is typically where you start. And once you understand what I'm going to explain later in the presentation, why I don't think cashback is my least favorite reward on a card. But if you're not interested in traveling and you're not interested in perks and you want things to be as simple and easy as possible, cashback's probably the best for you, because you're just going to earn money and you're going to use the cash back to either get a check or pay down your statement balance or whatever. And that's as simple as it gets. Really, if you're here, hopefully you want to learn more about the points and miles, because that's where you could get real massive values on your cards. And don't get confused by points or miles. So points and miles are essentially the same thing, where if you fly United or Delta, you're going to earn miles, where if you have Chase points, they're points, but they're essentially all the same thing. So there's no reason to get confused by points or miles, but they're going to be earned as a point rather than earned in money. And then later we'll talk about transferable currencies, which is even more valuable. I'll give a quick example. If you, for example, fly United and you earn the United miles, you could only use your United miles for United flights. But if you have a Chase card or you have an Amex card, you could earn those points, but those points are transferable to multiple partners, where, for example, Chase could transfer points to United, but Amex could transfer its points to Delta. So those are typically more valuable because they could transfer to multiple partners. And there's a ton. I think the big banks transfer to like upwards of 10 different partners. So just keep that in mind, why a lot of people do like doing a Chase, an Amex, a Capital One, a Citi, because they're transferable currency. Just so you understand the base terminology as I go through this. Another really important part when you are considering a credit card is the sign-up bonus. And another thing that really makes me cringe or just feel bad for people is when they sign up for a card and they don't realize there is a sign-up bonus. Imagine a typical person, I want to get a Chase card, they sign up, they don't read the fine print, they don't know that if they spend $3,000 in the first 3 months, they're going to get 80,000 points. So what happens if they don't hit that spend bonus, that offer goes away. And the reason why that's important is because 80,000, a lot of these sign-up bonuses are 80,000, 100,000 points or miles. And that's essentially like $1,000. So if you think of 100,000 points at 1 cent per point, it's about $1,000. So when I always think about a sign-up bonus, I always think in my head, I'm getting at least $1,000. And Randy, I know you recently opened up a card and you have a potentially huge sign-up bonus coming.
Yeah, I actually did 2 recently. I haven't done cards in a while, but I got a card recently, and it was that you'll know a bit more than me, but they were both like a Sapphire card, but one's a reserve and one's not. That might be it. It's through Chase. The one was a $75 a year card, I think, and so not a big annual fee, but that was a $100,000 sign-up bonus when I spent, I think it was $6,000. So it was a very easy to hit, especially with as much as I travel, easy to hit spend. But I just got one Friday last week, which is the Sapphire Reserve. Is that the one I was telling you about? Yeah. And that is a $200,000 sign up bonus. And I need to spend 30,000 within 6 months to get that. So that's to what you're saying. Make sure you hit that spend. So this is the card I'll be using. And it's very busy travel time for me right now. So it shouldn't be very hard to hit that 30,000 spend.
Yeah. And that's a great example because that card right now is like people are into credit cards. It's like really popular. Everyone's talking about it, but that's a business card, the Chase Sapphire Reserve Business. So it's a brand new card. So they have these really big sign up bonuses to try to get a lot of people to sign up. But some people listening might be like, oh my God, 30,000, I could never spend that. And that a lot of times, just keep in mind that the business card sign up bonuses are sometimes 10, 15, 20, 30,000 spend in 6 months to get that bonus. Personal cards are typically much lower. So personal cards could be a $3,000 spend in 3 months or 6,000 in 6 months. So, which is a lot more manageable on a personal level. We're going to talk about business and personal cards because I know a lot of people were curious if this is for business owners only, but this is really going to be for anyone because I think at the end of the day, we're running our businesses and then those points are coming to us personally and we can use it for personal things. So don't forget about the sign-up bonuses because if like an easy example, if you have a Capital One card, you get 2 times points for everything you buy. So to get 100,000 points, which you get on sign up in one shot, you'd have to spend $50,000 just to get 100,000 points through Capital One. I just give that because that's an easy example. If you're getting 1 times points, you would have to spend 100,000 to get 100,000 points. So just knowing the sign-up bonuses, because I've seen people completely miss them, and it's like a massive opportunity lost. That's like one of the best ways to earn points. And then specialized perks. I'm going to get later in the presentation, I'm going to give actual examples of some of these specialized perks. But if you love to travel, a lot of these cards are a lot of travel benefits. So if you're traveling and you're not maximizing these rewards and these perks, you're really missing out because you could make your travel experience so much more exciting, comfortable with something like lounges. Like I have the United Club business card. So when I travel, I could get into every United Club, wherever they are, unlimited access, and I could bring a guest. So I typically fly with my fiance. So it's the 2 of us. It wouldn't be fun to go into the lounge by myself. So we're always going to the lounge together. We get to the airport early. We get relaxed. We could have food, drinks, all that stuff, all included. And that's just one of the perks of having a credit card. That might be exciting to some people. To some people, it's not exciting, but that's like a really good perk. Or not paying for free check bags or having free check bags. if you're flying United all the time, or Delta, or any of the airlines, American, all of them have their own credit cards co-branded by the airline, and almost all of them offer free check bags. So if you're paying over $100 a year in check bags, you should definitely, without question, get one of these cards. Because a lot of times the annual fee is only $99, and you're already paying that in check bags, and then you're going to get additional perks with those cards. And I'm going to go deeper into that later, but just knowing that it's out there, because more often than not, when I talk to people, they don't even realize that there's options to get free check bags. And that's really what I want this webinar to be about. Randy, you have something?
Yeah. So I just wanted to expand on that United, because I have that United Club card as well. And I don't fly with layovers very often, but the few times that I have, not only do you get into the United clubs, you get into the Star Alliance clubs, which could be other airlines clubs. And that was it. I think it was an airport in Canada, and there was about 5 Star Alliance clubs. And I had about a 4-hour layover, was with a buddy, and I think we hit every one of those clubs, and you were able to get in free with just that United Club card.
Yeah. And I love it. And it depends. And that we're going to go through like all the different perks, because something is going to be a really high value to someone and someone else is not going to care about. And I like having almost like all of them, but I love, like, to me, travel day is like my fun day. Like getting to the airport, I get to relax in the lounge. I get to eat as much as I want, drink, hang out, and I make it an enjoyable day. So even to this day, like, I obviously love traveling because I make the experience good, and it doesn't have to be expensive to have that experience. It's just knowing these little tricks, because the United Club membership, like if you just went to United to buy it, it's $750 for the membership, but the credit card annual fee is $695 or something. I have it later in the slide. I just don't memorize all of them. I have it written down somewhere, trust me. But and then off from that, you also have like insurance protection. So if you pay for your trip on your credit card and you have travel interruptions, things like that, you could a lot of times call the credit card company, and they'll reimburse you for excessive delays, lost baggage, things like that. So that's another reason why you don't want to use debit cards, because debit cards don't give you any of that. So using those credit cards, knowing which ones have the best insurance, that isn't my specialty, but I know a lot of cards offer insurance benefits. And then other travel credits, like the Amex Platinum, for example, has a $200 credit to use on their hotel chain. So that's just part of having the card. You get it every year. So a lot of times, if you're not strategic with the cards, you realize people just waste those credits because you get it every year. So if you don't use it, you lose it. And then next year you get it next year. So you always want to make sure you're maximizing all these rewards, because we are going to get into the annual fees. You want to make sure you're offsetting your annual fee, because you don't want to lose money when you're doing all of this. And then to touch on some business stuff, so whether this is relevant to you or not, it's good to know that obviously, I think most accounting firm owners or business owners I talk to are already using credit cards to buy supplies or advertising, or as basically all the expenses possible. But a lot of times it's an advisory opportunity for accountants. Talking from my own standpoint, is talking to our clients, because I see that a lot of times my clients are using their debit cards and they're missing out on the points, they're missing out on the rewards, they're missing out on the liability protection. So those are just some things how you could use credit cards to actually help your clients and advise them to, even advise them what cards they should get or should not get, obviously if they're paying all their bills on time. And then just with payment terms, like if they're struggling with cash flow, don't use your debit card, use the credit card. It gives you an extra 30 days so you could wait for that incoming money to help cover your bills. And using business cards actually does build your business credit history. So if you don't have a business credit card now and you apply for one, you might get a really low credit line. You might get, a $2,000 credit line or $5,000 credit line. But over time, you're actually building your business credit history when you have a business card, the same way you do when you have a personal card. So the more personal cards you have and you're paying them all on time in full, that's going to help build your credit score. On the business side of things, it's going to be the exact same. If you're paying off your balance in full, you're going to build your business credit history. So that's good, because if you ever need credit down the road, it's helpful for your business. So having credit cards for your business is a a great business strategy. And just like leveraging those cycles for vendor payments, as I already mentioned. And then we'll get into this next poll. Ignore that 7. I don't know why that's there, but what's the most important when you're choosing a business card? And if you don't have a business card, what's the most important when it comes to a personal card? So we got longer float, cash back and points, travel perks, insurance and protection. So all things that we touched on.
And going back to your last slide, Nick, the one thing about, you said, getting your credit score. In fact, the more available credit you have, the higher your credit score goes. Now that means you're not keeping balance on these cards, but if you have the availability, at least this is what I've seen in the past, the more available credit you have, the higher the score. So if you do want to try to build up that credit score, that's one way that I've seen is able to do that.
Mm-hmm. Well, thanks for, looks like most people looking for cash back and points, 48%. And then I would say next would be travel perks. Definitely agree with that. I'm in the same boat. So I already mentioned this from the beginning. I feel like I always, anytime I talk to anyone in person, wherever I am talking about credit cards, the first thing I always say is if you're not paying off your balance in full every month, don't do anything, because it's just not worth it. Paying that interest, even like a good note is, because I talk to clients a lot about this. A lot of times clients will owe their taxes at year end and have a $10,000 tax bill. And they're like, oh, Nick, I could go on the IRS website and I could pay with a credit card. Sometimes it can make sense if you have a sign up bonus or something like that. But what happens is the IRS, or the third party company collecting the money, is charging 2%, 3% on that. So it'll be $10,300. So you're going to pay $300, obviously making up numbers to get those points. But that eats into the purpose of why you're getting the points. Like, you have to think about points as something that you're getting for free, just cost of doing business, living your life. You don't want to go out of your way to buy things to get points or pay service fees to use your credit card. I don't think that eats into the savings. So just knowing that before you do anything. So I would always try to avoid any fees, paying everything in full. And here where it says keep utilization under 30%, I would recommend, like, if you want to have excellent credit, I would keep it under 10%, but even under 30% would be considered good, but under 10% will be excellent. So just throwing that out there. So that's just saying, if you have a $100,000 credit limit, don't charge over 30,000, because that's going to make you over the 30%. So that could be risky. So if you have a small credit line, if you have 10,000, you have 9,000 on the card, I'd probably make small payments, because sometimes you have a big purchase and you're going to go over that. What I'll do personally is I'll make payments instead of waiting to the end of the month. I'll make a $5,000 payment to bring that $9,000 balance due down to $4,000. Now and it brings you down, your utilization down, and it helps your credit. So try not to float that if you're over the 30%. Obviously, it's really important to track your spending. So if you're in my shoes and you have 20 cards, I'm tracking my spending often, because unfortunately, when you have a lot of cards, you get a lot of benefits, but there's a lot of risk for a fraudulent charge or forgetting you have a recurring subscription that you're not using. So I think when you're starting to play the credit card game and, get all these travel perks, it's really important to keep track of what you're spending on, not wasting money, because the whole purpose of this is to help. In my situation is to travel for discounts or travel for free. But if I'm losing money by doing all these things, then I'm kind of defeating the purpose of what my personal goal is. So just think about that for yourself. So tracking your spending. And then this isn't where I open one new card a year for what's sustainable growth. That's just my personal opinion. Because people were like, how do you get 20 cards? I didn't open up 20 cards in 1 year. What I did is every year I would open up 1, 2 cards, maybe, depending if there's a good sign-up bonus, a card with a lot of perks that I'm like, oh, I could really leverage those perks. But I'm opening up about 1 new card a year. and I'll determine what card makes sense for me. So for example, I went to Bridging the Gap this year. I opened up the Delta Reserve card because one of the perks on it was buy one flight, get the second flight free. And my fiance Christine was coming with me. So I opened up the card. It was a big annual fee, but the savings was way more than the annual fee. So not only did I get the savings there that outweighed the annual fee, but I also got the sign-up bonus. There was I think it was like 90,000 points. So now I have 90,000 Delta points, and just from opening up that one card. So that's really, people are always like, how do you get so many points? I'm opening up cards, and that's really the big benefit. If you're not a big spender, like a lot of times, like a restaurant will get tons and tons of points because every month they're buying so much food and supplies and materials. Where in an accounting firm, I don't have a big spend. So I kind of rely on sign-up bonuses to get those big chunks of points to leverage down the road. And then we'll go into poll number 3. How often do you reconcile your card spend? Weekly, monthly, quarterly, or never?
This is something I'm very bad at.
I would say this is most people. I would guess most people are going to say never, but a lot of people on this call maybe will be a little bit better because we're in the accounting world and we always think about reconciling, I guess.
Now you tell me.
So most people are monthly, which is good. It's just good to keep, because if you're gonna open up a new card every year and get those sign-up bonuses, like it becomes more complex to manage your finances rather than having, if you have one bank account, one credit card, that's gonna be as easy as it gets. But as you multiply, it's gonna get a little bit more complicated, but there's a lot of benefits. And that's why personally I do it. It's definitely not for everybody. It could be a bit overwhelming to manage 20 cards, but it looks like almost everybody, but the majority is monthly. Some people are weekly, which is good, quarterly, and never. But yes, for never, like it's just something, sometimes you'll go through and just scan, even if you do it once a year, you go through and just look at your history and make sure that there's nothing fraudulent on there, because it happens more often than you think. Sometimes those readers get, like they steal your, like people put like card scanners that will like read your credit card, because I always wonder like how people get your credit card number and charge it, but it could be leaked on the internet. So just, it's good to just keep an eye on it, and that might save you money right there. All right, so designing your strategy. So everyone always asks me like, what card, everyone goes, Nick, what card should I get? And it's impossible for me to give someone full, complete advice without getting background. It's like giving tax advice. You can't give someone tax advice unless you know their tax situation. So knowing where people spend their money is really important, because your spend category matters. So certain cards, for example, later I'll talk about the Chase Sapphire. Randy has a Chase Sapphire Reserve. I have the Chase Sapphire Preferred. It's just the lower version of that card. But one of the things it gets 3 times points on dining. And I would say the majority of what I spend on in my personal life is going out to dinner, buying food. And I would say that's my biggest spend category. And I want to make sure I'm using a card that gets multiple points per dollar, because the average card is going to be 1 point for $1. So if you go out to dinner and you spend $1,000 on a group dinner, you're going to get 1,000 points. But if you use a card like the Chase Sapphire Preferred card, you get 3 times points for every dollar spent on dining. So if I do that same exact dinner and I just pick a different card in my wallet, the Preferred card, I'm going to get 3 times points. So that $1,000 dinner, now I get 3,000 points. And it might not seem like, all right, it's not that big of a deal. But what happens is when you use this card day in and day out, year over year over year, that 3 times points adds up pretty quickly. It's the difference between spending 30,000 on dining and getting 90,000 points or getting 30,000 points. So just knowing what cards are the best for your specific needs. If you're driving all across the country and you're paying a ton in gas, there's a lot of cards that are 3 times points on gas or 5 times points on gas. So knowing where you spend your money is really important. So that's something I would want to personally identify if I was advising someone what card to get. Travel, and then business expenses. So when it comes to business expenses, we're kind of blending between personal and business on this webinar. But when you have a business card, you should be putting just business expenses on that card. So you can't always maximize your points in every situation, but I use my business card for business-related expenses, business-related travel, and then I'm using my personal card for my personal expenses. So kind of allocating your cards based on the spend, business versus personal, is also important. And assuming if you do have a business, I highly recommend having a business card, because business cards gives you a lot more flexibility, because there's a lot of business cards that are not available personally. They're only available to businesses. And a lot of times those business cards give bigger sign-up bonuses than personal cards. And sometimes they give big earnings and bigger rewards and benefits, which I'll talk about later when I show some of the examples. So obviously, if you don't have a business, this isn't for you, but this is also a big advisory opportunity if you're advising clients, because all the time I get clients who are starting up a dog walking business, or, whatever type of business they're trying to start up. And I always recommend open that business bank account, open up that business credit card. And now instantly they're earning points for that business, where before they might have been commingling in their personal account, which you also don't want to do either. So having this knowledge not only helps you, but you could share the knowledge to help your clients or anyone, your friends, your family. And then build a playbook. So just come up with 2 or 3 cards based on your needs. So I'm gonna actually share later in the presentation. If you scan my QR code before, I'll share it so I could send you my actual cards in my wallet, and I broke down each card and the benefits for each card. Because if you fly Delta and you wouldn't want you only fly Delta, there's no point to get the United card. You love Hilton's, I wouldn't get the Marriott card. But I'll go into that later. So now I'm gonna go through some real life examples, because you might be thinking, oh, Nick, this sounds all fine and dandy, but I actually do this. And the examples that I'm going to show you are just my most recent examples. Like, I'm always getting crazy good deals, like amazing redemptions. And the reason why I'm so excited to actually do this webinar, I've been telling Randy and telling everyone on the tax council, like, I want other people to get the deals I'm getting, because it's not that it's not super complicated. You just have to know that they're out there. So I'm going to show you exactly how I save $1,300 on flying to Hawaii on points. One of them is Randy mentioned on the Amex Platinum Business Card. They have a new perk that if you could get $1,000 off on Dell, you have to spend $5,000. But if you are buying new computers for your firm and you're going to buy computers from Dell, if you open up the Amex Platinum Business Card, you spend $5,000 and you get $1,000 back. That's a massive bonus. But a lot of people just don't know that. And imagine what's even worse. What happens is someone will hear this and go, oh my God, I have that business card and I used a different card, and they lose the benefit. So that's why it's just good to at least know that they're there to make that educated decision, if that makes sense for you. Lifestyle is, I'm going to talk about the Marriott Brilliant card. This is a personal card, and just one perk of that card alone is just getting platinum status at Marriott. So when I'm going to Bridging the Gap and we're staying at a Marriott, I'm automatically platinum status. I'll be first eligible for upgrades and getting a suite for free. So things like that, like, I love that. I just love those little perks. So if that's something that's interesting to you, definitely want to look into that. And then if we have time at the end, I'm getting married in May and already booked my entire honeymoon on points. And this has been a goal for a long time for me. So I've been accumulating points for years, just saving them. Everyone's like, what are you doing with all these points? I'm like, well, I want to have this awesome honeymoon, do first class and 5-star hotels and do all this cool stuff, but I want to do it on points. So I got an awesome deal. And if we have time, I'll share that. And if not, you could connect with me after and I could give you a little breakdown. But I don't want to start with that because it's just too complex. It's not something not for the beginners. So hopefully the slide isn't too confusing, but I try to make it so you could visually see that I'm not just talking about it, but this is actually what I'm doing. And this is exactly why I don't like cashback cards. Because a cashback card, you're never going to get more value. You're just going to get your 1% cash back and that's it. When you get points, your points could turn into more. So if you see the screenshot here, I booked 2 one-ways. So if you look at the first black box here, it's 25,000 miles one way to Hawaii. And I got a round trip. So that's 25,000 miles each way. It's a $50,000 mile round trip. I booked for me and Christine. So that's for 2 people. It's 100,000 miles. And as I mentioned, 1 cent per point. So if you're following me, the 1 cent per point would be, I used $1,000 in points, but the flight, if I would have paid for the flight with money, you see over here, it was almost $1,300, and that's for 1 person. So the cash price would have been for me and Christine, $1,295 times 2, that's $2,590. So the amount you see, if you're following along, you could see I saved almost $1,600. I saved almost $1,600 by using points because I used 100,000 miles instead of paying $2,600. So I saved $1,600 by booking this flight with points, with miles, and not paying for it. Randy, did I explain that?
You got it.
All right.
You got it.
Just want to make sure.
Just as we were talking, and I'm going to get off subject here for a second, but why this is such a, you had mentioned you don't, spend a lot on your card, so you're strategic on getting the double, triple points on that. I just looked at the main card I used. That last year I spent $165,000 on my 1 credit card. So it's probably close to $250, but it's because I travel all the time. So for me, it's a little different. For me, it's, trying to maximize my 1 United card gets me more points when I book flights than the other ones do. And so that's one thing you have to know is which card to use when, and it can get confusing. I'm assuming you have a cheat sheet or something that you could talk about, but I thought it was interesting. I looked back to see how much I had spent on that card. That was a lot.
Yeah. And it's funny that you mentioned that, because one thing that I'm not even going to touch on in this presentation, because I'm thinking most people are not going to be advanced users with huge spends, but someone like you or like our restaurant clients who have massive spends annualized, like they might spend $500,000 on their credit card buying materials and food. Those clients could get massive rewards, because if you charge that to a United card or a Delta card, they give you status based on your spend. So that's something that I don't talk about, because everything I talk about is something that I've actually done myself. I don't spend that much, so I can't get those platinum statuses just by spending money. But that's something that I would look into if you have a really big spend.
Yep.
So if any of this is interesting to people, my QR code there, I'll share this, but I actually made this for the presentation because I know it's like a lot. I'm talking about all these credit cards. If you've never heard of them, it's probably over your head. But I made like a little cheat sheet with my favorite cards. Like these are all the cards I have. So I kind of zoomed this one in so you could see it. But these are all the cards I have and the perks of each card. And it kind of shows why I pay some of these big annual fees. Like the Capital One Venture X, for example. It's a $395 annual fee. But the one thing I love about it is you get 2 times points on all purchases. So a good example, there's the business one is actually identical. So I have the business one as well. But for example, we do a lot of bookkeeping and we pay QuickBooks for all our subscription clients. Instead, what I used to get was 1 times points on that, because there is not a bonus category for QuickBooks subscriptions. But now that I got the Capital One business card, now I get 2 times points. So just that quick switch just doubled my points that I'm getting every month. So that's just an example why I like a 2 times annual point card. This is a good card for people who are like, oh my God, Nick, I don't want to track my dining and my travel and my gas. It's just too much work. Get the Capital One, because you don't even have to think about it. 2 times points is a good redemption. I referred my mom to get this card because it's good for her. She doesn't have to think about it. She just, everywhere she goes, she's getting 2 times points, which is good. But you also get a $300 travel credit through Capital One. And every year you get 10,000 annual bonus points. And the reason I bring this one up, because it just shows quickly how that $395 quickly disappears because you're getting the $300 credit and 10,000 bonus points, which is equivalent of $100. So it's a free card in my eyes. But then I have my list, my Chase Sapphire. I broke it down business and personal, my Chase United Mileage Club card, and I have a whole sheet. And this sheet was just my favorite card. Some of my cards are just no annual fees. There's no benefits or anything, so I didn't bother to put them on. I put my oldest card on here, my Discover Cashback. I got that when I was 18. I still keep that card open. The reason it's important is because that helps your credit history. So don't close your oldest card. Yeah, that's actually a great point. Don't close your oldest card, just keep it. And the best thing to do is put one revolving charge. So I'm pretty sure on my Discover card, I have my Spotify on it, $20 every month, auto pays every month. I don't even have to think about it. I don't have to manage it. And what it does, I get that many on-time payments. So every month I get 20 green check marks or positive impacts to my credit score because I'm managing all these cards. So most of these cards are just one revolving charge. And then I use the perks as I'll go into some of them in these upcoming cards. But yeah, if you reach out to me, I'll share the sheet with you if it's interesting.
And a question I have, Nick, I didn't pop this up. There is some Q&As I'll get to here if we have time at the end. But when you get some of these cards and they are a high spend and you realize you're not using all the benefits, you can actually keep the card but downgrade it, can't you, to a lower fee card?
Yep. That's the best thing to do. People think they have to cancel it. You could downgrade it to usually a no annual fee or lower annual fee. Like even like the Chase Sapphire Reserve. That's what people do. I don't know, now it's a $7.95 annual fee. They might get that sign up bonus and then they go, you know what, I'm not getting the perks of this card. You could call up and downgrade it to the Chase Freedom. You don't lose your credit history. It doesn't negatively impact you at all. And now you can keep that card open and your credit history stays alive. When you close that card, it deletes that credit history.
Yep. And that was kind of a question we just had too. Sorry. Someone was asking about, once you get the bonus, do you close the card? No, downgrade it. Or there are times where you need to keep that open for at least a year so they don't claw that bonus back.
Yeah. So that's always read the fine print. And if you're ever thinking about closing a card, if you call Amex or Chase, say, hey, I'm thinking about closing this card, I won't lose my points, because that's the important thing. Because if you close within a year and they have verbiage in there that says if you close a card within the year, we'll take the points back, they can. So that I would never close a card within a year. I try to keep all my cards open. So like when I was younger, I would open them, get the bonus, and after a year or two, close it. But I didn't know all the tricks that I know now, that keeping the cards open is actually better. So I would, instead of closing it, I would just make no annual fee cards. And as long as you're managing them, or you could, if it's too much to put the revolving charges on, which I recommend, you could just not cut it up and just leave it unactive. There's nothing wrong with doing that. But yeah, don't open it just to close it. Like I wouldn't.
Right.
And credit card companies can ban you if they see you're doing it as a game. Like I'm using all these cards. Like, not that I'm using them a ton. If I have one card, I would use that a ton, but I'm using it all for different things. Like when I go to Marriott, I'm using my Marriott card, but on a regular basis, I'm not using my Marriott card. And there's nothing wrong with doing that. So, but those are good questions. So yeah, if they keep coming, just feel free to just jump in.
Yep.
So I wanted to show another example of for the Hawaiian, I was showing you how to maximize the point, how your point valued at 1 cent could actually be worth more than that 1 cent if you use it strategically. And now I'm going to show you, this is a card that I love. It's a personal card. So this is a snippet here of what I have on my credit card cheat sheet. But one of the perks, you get the Platinum Elite status just for having the card. You get this 85,000 free point night, $300 dining credit, which is what Randy was talking about. Every month you get $25 off dining. I use it. Me and my fiance go to get Rook every day, a ton of times per month. So I use that card and I get $25 off at Rook. So those are just things that eat into your annual fee because you were going to pay for those things anyway. So I just want to give an example of, and then next to it, you see, I just went on at Marriott's website right now and you see, just so you see a sign up bonus. If this is a limited time offer, it's 185,000 bonus points if you spend 6,000 in 6 months. So if you spend $1,000 a month and you open this card, you're going to get 185,000 bonus points right off the bat, which is a lot of points. So I'm just going to show, basically the sheet's just to show you why I pay annual fees. Because when I tell people my annual fees, they think I'm absolutely crazy. But I always say, I'm an accountant. Like, you don't think I thought this through, which I definitely did. So the annual fee is a lot on this one. It's $650. But if you follow along, the $300 dining credit, super easy to use. So I'm going to take that off. This 85,000 free point night. And here, I know I said it's 1 cent per point, but you could Google what they value different points at, but Marriott points aren't as valuable as a Chase point or an airline point. So let's call it 0.7 of a point. So what you do is the 85,000 times the 7.7 cents per point. That's a $595 value just right off the bat, getting that free night every year. So the $650 fee less the $300 dining credit minus the $595. In my eyes, I'm making $245 on having this card. And that doesn't even account for the platinum status, which has a huge value. I get upgrades all the time for free, and all the other perks. And these are just, again, I'm just showing my favorite perks because it would take forever to talk about all of this stuff. But the bonus is I use this free night for $1,000 room. So it's an example of using your points for more than what they're worth. So this was 98,000 points. I had to use 9,000 extra points on top of the 85 of my own points, but that's minimal. And I'm staying at the Ritz-Carlton in New York City, which is $1,000. So it's just an example of like how much I'm really saving by having this card. So I don't even think about this annual fee because I know I'm going to get my money's worth. And I know we're getting closer to time, so I'm trying to go through a little quicker because one other cool example, if you're not a Marriott guy, not a United guy, you fly Delta, I touched on this, but the Delta Reserve business card, you just has all these perks, the $250 hotel credit, the $240 Resi credit, $120 Uber credit, and free check bags, and Delta Lounge. There's so many perks to this card. To some people, it's like, oh, that's so overwhelming. I get it. Just the companion flight alone is worth its money to me because I went to Bridging the Gap. I bought my ticket. I wanted to treat myself, so I got a business class ticket. It was $1,200. Christine's ticket was $0. I screenshotted here. I only had to pay the taxes of $30. And that's why it says bring someone along for your next adventure. I just put that in there. But that saved me $1,200. That's not using any of the other perks listed there. So this is just like why I get excited about this, because I'm like, I feel like there's all this untapped potential and people are afraid to have a credit card. So again, don't get 20, but maybe this year you get 1. So let's get to the 4th polling question. What will you do after today? Will you apply for a new card, optimize your existing spend, update your controls and policies, still evaluating?
I'm not going to apply for a new card because I just did 2 this year, and that's like first time I've done new cards in a while. But man, that 300,000 in bonuses I got for those 2 cards, or will be getting, that's crazy. That's 3,000 based on what you were saying. Just an estimated value per point.
Yeah. And then that 3,000, like if you get 300,000 points, that's 3,000 only if you get 1 cent. But if you maximize it, like one of my best redemptions while people are answering the poll is when I went to Japan, I booked a Japan Airlines first class flight experience, 2 seats, which that would have cost $37,000. And I used 370,000 points, which is like 4,000 in points almost. So I used a ton of points, but that experience was like unaffordable, like 37,000, no way. But it was like such a cool experience. So that's where you really could get like the massive value from your points.
Yep.
All right. So some people are applying for a new card. Awesome. Optimize your spend. Nice. That's something you could literally do today. And then still evaluating. Yeah. If you have follow-up questions, just reach out to me. I'm happy to help. Let's see what else. So quick wins using transferable points. If you're not sure where to start, get Chase, Amex, Capital One, Citi also. They transfer a lot of different partners. If you don't want to be locked into Delta, United, Marriott, Hilton, they transfer. So look at their transfer partners. if you're going to open up a card, and a lot of people are 10 people are looking to apply for a new card, time your card opening around a large expense. You're buying a new refrigerator, you're buying a couch, a TV, computer. Don't open it up and not be able to hit the spend. And then definitely don't spend more money to hit the bonus. So like, you don't want to open up a card and be like, all right, now I have to spend $10,000. So you just go on a shopping spree. That's not the game. That's, you get it, overspending. So plan to get those sign-up bonuses when you know you have a big spend coming up. I have to make a wedding deposit in November for my wedding. So it's a big deposit. So trust me, in October, I'm gonna be thinking about the credit card I want to open. And then reviewing your benefits and perks. That's really important because they change. Like United just changed all their benefits and added new ones. Delta did the same. They added all these new benefits. But a lot of people, if you're not reading up on it, you're going to lose on those benefits. So keeping an eye on it is important. And then lastly, building a cushion of points for future opportunities. That's not for everyone. That's for me. Like if you could build up points and wait for those prime opportunities to get amazing experiences, honeymoon, anniversary, something big, that's where you'll get the most value. Like if you book a first class flight, maybe something you wouldn't spend money on, that's when you get the best benefit. That's when you get the best value of your points.
I have a couple questions, Nick. I don't know if you have more slides.
Should I go to the questions?
Okay.
Yeah.
So here's one, just, a little, and you were kind of just touching on this, but the daunting task of trying to keep up with what the perks are and how you stay abreast of that, because, for some people, I'm thinking that's going to feel like a full-time job. Is there any tips to do this?
So they have some apps that track them. So like there's like an app that I like, it's called Award Wallet, and like you link in all your cards and they'll keep track of your benefits. But sometimes I feel like it can be a little confusing. Like I only need to know the ones that I have to actively manage. So like the Marriott card, if I have to spend $25 per month on dining, I just have I make my own Excel sheet just because it's easy for me to see. It's like every month I know I need to spend in these 4 categories so I don't lose these perks. So I make my own sheet and that works. But that's why I think opening up one new card a year. So let's just assume everyone on the call has 1 or 2 cards. Know all the perks of your cards that you have now. And then when you get the next card, you only have to learn the perks for 1 new card. And then over time, it almost becomes second nature. But in the beginning, if you were to open up 5 cards, it could be very overwhelming. Like you just opened up the Sapphire Reserve Business. Those are all new perks. I don't even know any of them because I don't have that card. But it'd be something I ought to make sure I want to manage and then track it every year.
This is one thing that I did, and I haven't updated this in a while. And after this webinar, I'm going to, but I started just to like an Excel sheet, which the benefits on each card, like, okay. And I almost just put a check mark. All right, if I'm going to eat somewhere, use this card. I mean, very simple like that. Or I would put it's 5 points per, dollar at restaurants. But some of them change too, or you can pick the category. So that's where it gets a little daunting. Yeah. So I try to keep it pretty easy. Like if I use my United Club card, I get more miles per airline ticket bought than if I use my, generic, basic United card. So I just kind of know that. Obviously, if I'm a Marriott person. So if I'm staying at Marriott's, I just know I use my Marriott card when I'm staying there because I get additional points for that. My Costco card, gives me additional points based on certain spends here or there. I'm no expert, but I just know that there is additional benefits. I think we have time for one more question before I wrap it up here. So someone asked about the new Atmos premium card. Have you heard about this? ATM. All right. Is there do you have any thoughts on it?
Yeah. So it's funny. So that's like another good example. So the Atmos is the Alaskan airline card, and they're part of One World Alliance. Like my buddy, he lives out west and he always flies Alaskan. So he got the card. He's super excited about it, but I never fly Alaskan. So that wouldn't be a top pick for me. So and that's what I said. Like I can only talk about the cards that I use and I love, but there's gonna be different cards for everyone. So they have 3 different offerings. Like I always go for the high annual fee card because they always give the biggest bonus and the most perks. And then if I determine I'm not utilizing it, I'll downgrade to the lower annual fee card after the year.
Yep. All right. Well, let's go to the last slide here, Nick. And I think it might be last. Thank you. Thank you, Nick, for sharing your knowledge. I know you had your QR up there earlier. People can scan that. I don't know if it's up here again or not, but if they have questions, they can reach out to you. If you, as I said at the beginning, not only are we talking credit cards, we're talking tax credits too with Tri-Merit. So if you have any questions on some of the new tax bill, a lot of information out there, just there's our information to reach out. And Nick, you're getting some thank yous on the chat too. So great stuff. I'm getting this here, Nick. I had a feeling this would be a well-attended and interesting webinar. So thank you so much for doing this. We appreciate it. Remember, this will be on YouTube as early as this afternoon. So if you think any of your friends would like to see this, it's out there for you. Any final thoughts for you, Nick?
No, I was super excited to share. Reach out to me. I loved talking about this, so I was really happy to be here, honestly.
All right. Well, thanks, everyone.
Bye.